this is Kelly at Kiss Looms. I am going to show you how to weave on our Hexagon weaving loom. The first thing that you need to do is create a slip knot, and then you're going to place that slip knot on the back corner of the hexagon. I'll show you this here as a close-up. On this back corner, the first thing you're going to do is then you're going to wrap all of the nails back and forth, not pulling too tight, going on each one, wrapping this middle section. This is going to create your rows to do your weaving on in the middle. So when you get to the end, you are going to wrap around here and then one final nail here. And then you are going to turn the loom, and I like to just go ahead and turn it all the way around like this. And you are going to grab your crochet hook or your tapestry needle, however you want to do it, and you're going to go over under, weaving each one of these pre-established threads, and then you're going to pull the working yarn through, placing it on the next available nail that's going to start down your side. Then you're going to grab that working yarn and pull it down. Get this tail out of the way here so you can see. Pull it down to the next available nail on the side. Kind of pull your wrap across here to the next available nail on this side. Now you'll need to push this with your weaving comb so that it's nice and tight against that edge. And then you're going to come up to the left hand side of your next available nail here. And I usually like to just go ahead and wrap this all the way around. Again, you're going to go over, under, all the way across. And when you get to your working yarn, you're going to grab it and pull it through. And then place that on the next available empty nail at the top. And again, then pull down to your next available nail on the bottom and place it around there. Kind of pull taut a little bit. You want this to kind of have a natural curve to it on top and bottom so that you can not, that you're not pulling it too tight. Okay, please excuse my cat Bob, who decided he needed to be in the picture. Okay, again, you're going to come around the top, go around that next empty nail, pull it all the way across, and again, over, under, doing the opposite of whatever you did on the previous row. You're going to continue this weaving until you get to the final nail. And I will go ahead and continue weaving this, and then I will catch back up with you on the final few rows. Okay, I'm picking this up kind of back in the middle. When you get where you don't feel comfortable or it's harder to get your crochet hook all the way through, you can do it in segments across. As long as you're doing the over, under, and doing the opposite of what you've done the row before, you can pick it up anywhere and start that weaving process. So I usually like to do this in 2 passes. I'm doing it 3 here so that you can see. But as long as you're doing the opposite, it'll come out just fine. So I'm just pulling that slack through. And then on this side, I am down to the final 3 nails. So I'm going to place it on those 2 nails that were empty, leaving 1 remaining right there. Pulling this across just a little bit. Got that nice arc. I'm going to comb that back into where it needs to be here. And then I am going around the 2 empty nails here and here. And then pulling this around to the side like I showed you before. And starting about the middle here. And doing my over under. Now, of course, as you get towards this middle, and especially depending on your yarn and how tight you've woven it, it's going to get tighter and tighter as you go. So these final few rows will be a little bit tough and fiddly until you just get used to the process. Of course, I've got my crochet hook stuck here, so there we go. So just learn to turn it and wiggle it until you get through where you need to be. And if it doesn't work, you just try again or go through a smaller patch. Well, this really is getting hot. Okay. Go through a smaller patch. So I'm just going to do these few right here so that I can turn it that direction. And you don't want to catch the ply of the others as you go through. All right. Once you get it started at that end, it gets a lot easier in the middle here. This yarn is a little tight. I think it's got some wool in it, so it's not got as much stretch as using an acrylic yarn would. Cotton's especially tight too when you get to these final few rows because it just doesn't have much stretch. So I'm basically measuring out with a little extra slack what I'm going to need here at the end. And then I am coming back in right here, and I've created a loop in the middle here with my fingers so that I'm grabbing that with the crochet hook to pull it through. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just grab another smaller section of 2 right here and pull it through. And then I've just got 1 to go under right here to pull it through. And that makes it super easy. And that is going to go just around this final nail here on the side. I'm going to pull the slack out just a bit. And then I'm going to comb it to either side here. And you can see that there's just enough space for 1 final row in the middle. So this is where I would then take the yarn, kind of measure across, building in some extra slack to tuck the tail in because we don't want too much or not enough to weave it in afterwards. Then you will cut the yarn and weave this final strand. So you can see in the middle we've got an over here and an over here and an under here and an under here. So one final strand down the middle will successfully part those two, the opposite of what they have been. So again, I'm just going to grab just a couple here at the end because this end can be tight. I'm going around this needle or this nail right here to this side of it and pulling it up, over, under, through there. And instead of pulling just the whole loop, I'm actually going to pull the entire thing all the way through. And then I'm going to find a spot in the middle again. Not doing as much at a time because it's stiff. It almost feels like a drum head that you're making at times. I'm making a loop here. It's easier to pull the loop through than it is close to what you've just woven. And I'm kind of twisting the top of the hook back and forth to get around the ply and then pulling it through. And this one was being a little fiddly there. So again, twisting, pulling it all the way through. And you can see that it's filling in that gap in the middle and closing it up with the over under. So I'm just going to continue this, just grabbing 2 or 3 in the middle and making a loop and pulling that loop through by kind of rotating my hook. Sometimes it helps to take a tapestry needle, metal one, and pull it through and just sew it through that way. It can be a little easier. But whichever way you do it, and some yarn it isn't this tight. Some of it is. I was working with some beautiful yarn the other day and it was not tight at all. It was perfect and came through really, really nice. Okay, just going to pull that through right there. But this wool gets tight. But just a reminder, you want to make sure that you use wool or cotton if you're making hot pads, because acrylic yarn will melt to the bottom of your pot, and that is not something that you want to deal with. Okay. And just a few more to go here. Then I've got one final one at the corner right here, and it is very hard to get to a lot of times, so you want to try to push this thread over right there so that you can get under it. You can also always, when you pop it off, you can pull it through there. And I think that's what I'm going to do for this one because it's rather tight. So this is the final hexagon here, woven. And you can see it's nice and tight. These are spaced out at 1/4 inch apart. So that makes a really nice spacing. So I am going to go ahead and pop this off for you. A lot of times you can just pull that slip knot, and that's an easy one to get off first. And then you can use your crochet hook and just sort of grab those loops till you get a few of them off of there. And then you'll be able to start pulling it by hand, because it won't be as tight on you. I am pulling the slack towards the nails and popping it off of there. And then it gets really easy to get off. Okay. And so then I want to be real careful with this one so that I'm not losing this hole to pull my last thread through. So I've got that, and then I pull it through right here, and that secures my corner. And that was a lot easier than fighting around those nails in this particular one. So as long as you're careful when you do that, you can fix that right up. So that is how you weave on a Kiss Loom hexagon, or any other hexagon that you might find out there. If you have any questions, please feel free to check out the website, www.kisslooms.com. Thank you. Have a great day.